Today's topic for editorial discussion is with respect to end the debate. So what this article deals with is that recently it deals with sedition, section 124A of IPC 1860. That is what this article deals with. This article, and there was also a similar article with respect to 124. All these articles they trace how section 124 came into force and all such cases and all. Right from the beginning of even before independence. So that is what these articles deal with. So now what we are going to discuss is that we'll see what is the context in which this particular article is in news, what has happened, what is the recent development with respect to section 124A, and we'll also see what sedition is, and we'll see what are the arguments for and arguments against section 124A. So that is how this discussion will move on. So yes, the first thing, what is the context of this article? Why was section 124A in news? The thing is, the Law Commission has released 279th report, and in that report it has enshrined that the minimum years of punishment under section 124A has to be further enhanced. Earlier it was only 3 years, minimum was 3 years to life, but what the Law Commission's report has suggested is that to enhance this minimum period to 7 years. So if this is implemented, it will be from 7 years to lifetime. So yes, this is the context in which section 124A or this sedition thing was in news. So now what is sedition? But yes, there were a lot of apprehensions with respect to the recent developments suggested by the Law Commission report. There were a lot of experts and a lot of other activists, political activists, who were criticizing the recent development. They have been criticizing section 124 for a larger period of time, but recent developments has further added fuel to the fire. So yes, now we'll see what sedition is. Section 1, as we have already seen, section 124A of IPC deals with sedition. So what is this sedition? Sedition, it has already been used. It is something that was used in the England. It was first started. The roots of sedition was in 17th century England. So that is where sedition comes from. In India, in the Indian context, the IPC 1860 holds section 124A. In India, it was, but initially it was not there. The draft thing had sedition provisions, but initially it was not there. It was added by a person called James Stephen in the year 1870. Sedition was added to the IPC in the year 1870 by James Stephen. So what does the provision contain with respect to today's scenario, today's milieu? What does the provision contain? Is that any person by words, written, signs, or any other forms of visual representations, any person who indulges in any with respect to their words or some sort of signs or visual representations, written something, if it is written, all these things, when they try to bring hatred towards the government or attempts to bring hatred towards the government, excites or attempts to excite disaffection towards the government. The thing is, 4 things to be noted here. Hatred brings hatred against the government or attempts to bring hatred against the government, and again other thing to be noted is excites disaffection or attempts to excite disaffection against the government. So on these basis, on these grounds, an individual can be imprisoned from 3 years to life sentence based on the extent of the crime. So yes, this is a non-bailable offence also. We cannot get bail for this offence. So it's a non-bailable offence with a punishment range from 3 years to life. So there are a lot of activists both for and against the Sedition Act. So we will see the perspectives of for those who support. What are the perspectives? What are the points that they make? Mostly the government, it portrays, it shows us that it is important to have some tool like that of the sedition for various reasons. We will see what are those reasons. The first point to be noted here, the first point that supporters and government place forth is that anti-national elements. So it's a section like 124A or sedition, it helps us it helps us to tackle anti-national and anti-social elements. Anti-national and anti-social elements like such of terrorists. We have terrorists, we have insurgents, we have extremists, and all these things. All these people, anti-national and anti-social elements, they try to bring hatred towards the government. What they want is that they at least want to annihilate the government. They want to bring a revolution. Good, the right or wrong of that is, again, it is under discussion. Mostly it is wrong only. So yes, but what is given here is that insurgents, there are a lot of insurgents and extremists. They are trying to topple the government. They are running parallel governments and all. And a provision like section 124A, it helps us to tackle such elements like insurgents and all, insurgents, terrorists and extremists and all. So for this thing, we have this very useful tool known as the section 124A. And yes, again, we have the unity and integrity factor, unity and integrity of India. So section 124A also helps in protecting the unity and integrity of India. How does it do so? And we have already seen, on the previous point, we have already seen certain groups of anti-nationals and anti-socials, such as the extremists and insurgents. There are also other groups or same extremist and insurgents groups. They ask for separation. They are called as separatist and secessionist. They want a separate state. They want a separate country. So those who ask for that, so those who those who protest or revolt for that or riot for that, all these elements can be kept in control, and the unity and integrity of India can be protected by using tools such as the section 124A or the sedition case. So it helps, section 124A helps us to maintain the integrity and unity of India as a nation state. So yes, and we have social media. In recent times, the need for section 124A has increased exponentially. One of the major reasons for that is that social media, the role played by social media. Social media is playing an ever proliferating role. It is playing an ever proliferating role with respect to radicalization. Yes, earlier radicalization was done by word of mouth or through meetings, recruitments and FDs and all, like freebies. So yes, but in today's context, in the modern era, radicalization process has changed, at least to a certain extent. Insurgent groups or terrorist groups or extremist groups, they are large scale, on a large scale they are using social media as a front to recruit individuals, to recruit unemployed youth of India, and they are trying to radicalize them. So in such instances, social media, though it is thought to be a boon, it is becoming a bane here, and all such instances such as those. So yes, in order to rectify such issues and correct such mistakes, section 124A is a very big tool, is a very efficient tool in handling such radicalization process. So yes, it protects the government. So yes, state, what is a state? There are various components of state such as the population, territory, government, sovereignty and all. So one of the very big component of state is that of the government. So yes, there are some certain elements that oppose the government. They want to topple this government. They want to change the government. They want to change, in the sense it is radical change we're speaking here, we're talking about. So some wants to bring a radical change, and this provision of section 124 protects such instances, protects the government from such instances of radical change or change through violence and all. So yes, these are the pros, these are the things that people placed before for supporting section 124A. Another thing, it might seem a bit comical, but yes, there are certain arguments for section 124A. What people say is that there is contempt of court to protect the court. There is contempt of court to protect the court, all forms of court, but there is no such provision to protect the government. Same criticism here only, but there is no protection, there is no system or there is no tool except that of section 124A to protect the government. So what some people argue is that if courts have contempt of court, there is nothing wrong in having section 124A for the government. So this is how those who support section 124A argue. And yes, moving on to the arguments against Section 124. The first and the foremost point is that of colonial relic. So colonial relic is something that is, relic in a sense, it is something that was left behind. So colonial relic in a sense, it was left behind by the colonial masters or colonists. For example, a colonist in India is British, one of the largest colonists in India. So yes, the British Raj used Section 124A and all such instances, to oppress our freedom fighters, to put a barrier against our freedom of speech, against our freedom of expression, and all such things. Yes, so yes, a demonic regime, a regime that was self-centered, a regime that was opposed to the Indians, that contradicted with the interest of Indians. Yes, all these regime, the British regime used Section 124, and in a democratic place, there is no use for Section 124, Section 124A. And this is what a lot of people argue. It is a colonial relic and it has to be abolished, or it has to be repealed or removed. That is what various of people, they put forth opposing Section 124A. And not only that, Mahatma Gandhi has also said that is the prince among the sections, prince among the political provisions that was that the British had to suppress Indians. Prince among the political provisions that the British had to suppress Indians. Section 124A. He criticized Section 124A as such. So yes, moving on to the next thing, we have Article 19. Yes, fundamental rights. Section 124A. Some people argue that it contradicts with our right to freedom of speech and expression. Moving on to the next topic, we have Article 19. Yes, the Constitution has given us certain fundamental rights, and the freedom of speech and expression is one such right. It has been guaranteed to us under Article 19 1A. So yes, the thing is, some people argue that Section 124A contradicts with Article 19, and it acts as a barrier for an individual to enforce, or to exercise his right to speech and expression. That is what most people argue, that it contradicts with fundamental rights enshrined under Article 19 1A. So yes. The next thing is, it contradicts with democracy. So in a democratic polity, the thing is, the people have the power. When tracing the definition of democracy, one is sure to stumble upon something that was uttered by Abraham Lincoln. The thing is, it is for the people, by the people, and of the people. So people, they are everything. They are everything. People are sovereign in a democratic polity, such as India. So yes, people have everything, and people can criticize the government. The government, what is the government? The government is something that was made by the people. It was elected by the people. The government represents the people, and government is also for the people. So yes, that is that. So in such a polity, when people are sovereign, the people must have, in a democratic polity, the people must have some sort of power. They must have the power to criticize the policies of the government, or criticize the government itself. So yes, some people tell that this particular provision of Section 124A, it directly contradicts with the essence of democracy. In a democratic polity, Section 124A has no place. That is what certain people argue. So yes, moving on to the next point, we have rampant misuse. So yes, we have seen in the past, we have seen even in the pre-independence era, we have seen the rampant misuse of Section 124A, and post-independent also the scene was not very well developed. So yes, we have seen a lot of rampant misuse. It was mostly targeted against political opponents, and those who are opponents, those who are an opposition party and all. Section 124A was liberally used against them. So sedition was liberally used against political opposition and all, and political heads and all, who are not from the ruling party. So yes, there is a scope for rampant misuse. So these are the points that people put forth to oppose Section 124A under IPC. So yes, this is what the article entails. This is what basically what the article entails. So yes, thank you.